Hi, this is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is the Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart, episode by episode, the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a rewatch podcast, so we always bring up spoilers, things, how they'll relate to future episodes, so just a warning.
Yeah, definitely could happen in this episode. This week we're talking about Season 2, Episode 13, Daddy Issues. The only daddy issue is that John Gilbert is unfortunately back to town.
Yeah, the worst daddy.
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of other episodes where there are more daddy issues, like Caroline's dad episode. Oh, yeah. But John just sucks so much that he got the daddy issues episode.
The title. He definitely gets the title of Daddy Issues. Yeah, and then like in a season full of really great episodes that I just love back to back.
Yeah.
This, unfortunately, is an episode that I don't personally, love because it has all of my least favorite things. Uncle John Gilbert, Jules, and Caroline getting tortured.
Yeah, her torture, everything that happens to her is so messed up. I really don't like it.
I know, I hate them for that. But we do get an iconic Elena ponytail.
True.
And
it's all worth it.
And the introduction of Andy Starr.
I've said this about every season 2 little side character, but I love Andy.
We're gonna have to try to rank them at the end of the season.
Oh, we should in our recap.
It's gonna be hard because she's another one that I love.
I really like Andy. We'll get into it more later.
We'll get into it. And then this is also a pretty good episode for Delena, so I feel like there's a lot to talk about on a lot of levels on this episode. But I did want to just call out all of these things because it kind of relates to a comment we got recently that made me laugh, where someone was like, these few episodes of this season, they really give and they really take away. And that really sums up this episode for me. I'm like, really gives and really takes.
Yeah.
Real.
No, that is a really true comment, especially for this episode. There's so many good things that are really minor, but then the overarching big thing, I'm like, she takes.
Yeah, she takes.
Yeah.
So we'll kick right off, of course, with we're about to start the taking, which is at Caroline's house. So Caroline is leaving her house. She's locking up the door. She turns around and she sees Tyler waiting by her car. She just says a hi. We need to talk. Of course, the last time we saw them together, they had kissed. Tyler kissed her.
Yep.
So she obviously assumes that must be that why he's there and what they need to talk about. Because he is like, yeah, we do need to talk.
Yeah.
And she jumps right in and she tries to settle it quickly, being like, Matt's still in the picture, so we can't go there.
Yeah.
Which also I have to point out, Matt's still kinda in the picture. You said you loved him last episode.
I love her.
That's such a different.
They really hit the mark with the teenage aspect of Caroline here.
Yeah.
I love how she's so much more confident and everything since becoming a vampire, but her whole love life right now is very very she is 17.
Yeah, she's definitely 17. Yeah, so Matt's kind of in the picture. Yeah, so
she loves him, but
I'm in love with him and he wants to get back together, so he's kind of in the picture, just a little bit. So anyway, so he's like, yeah, I get it, that's fine, whatever. And she's about to get in her car, okay, great, I'm glad we've settled that.
Good talk,
and he goes, what happened to my Uncle Mason? Which, of course, automatically, that changes the whole vibe because she's like, what are you talking about? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And he immediately reveals that he knows that Mason is dead, that Stefan and Damon killed him, and that they're also vampires. Obviously then that means that she's been lying to him. And she's kind of just panicking and saying, let me explain. She doesn't really know what to do because obviously, she had no idea he knew any of this. She had no way of knowing that he knew any of this. And he just says, did you know the whole time? And she nods, and he gets really angry and pushes her against the car.
Yeah.
And it's just really tense. And I think the fact that Caroline, she kind of just lets him do it. She starts crying a little bit, she's getting upset, but she just sort of lets him react in this way. He does the werewolf eyes.
Yeah. I noticed that. It's
crazy.
Pretty subtle, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think the fact that she kind of lets him do this is such an interesting I don't know, a trust level of her to because we've seen that she's not afraid to vamp eyes back at people and she's not afraid to run up on somebody if she has to.
Yeah.
But she kind of just lets him do this and I think a recognition of you're hurt, but I trust that you're not actually going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Because she just starts apologizing and he just leaves. It's clearly this is not a good setup for the two of them. As good as it's been for a while, this is now the downfall of trust has been broken.
Things are not great between them. I also want to point out this is the first well, not the first, but like this is a really like noticeably outside scene. It's fall. It's fully fall.
I wrote that down.
I'm still on this. This is the hill I die on this season. It's fall. It's 100% fall.
It 100% was fall for sure. I wrote that down too. I was like, whoops, it's clearly fall outside again. So cool.
Which is fine, because I do think of like the Vampire Diaries, the vibe to me is like, it's always fall. Yeah. So I'm like, they're just in the autumn court. It's fine.
They're in the autumn
they live in Mystic Falls is an autumn court.
It definitely is. It's technically like May or something. I don't know. It's supposed to be spring.
Yeah.
But no, it's fall. It's always fall.
Yeah. That's unrelated.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the actual plot. Damon's in the shower. That's the whole plot.
That's the plot. Stefan had to be shirtless last episode, so this time it was Damon's turn.
Yeah. So Damon is showering while the news is on his like TV in his room that he can see from the shower. And there's a newscaster who rewatchers like us will notice, Andy Starr.
Yeah, icon legend.
Icon. We already said we love her. We'll get into her more later. She's just reporting on all of the like random deaths that have happened, because like I don't think you really think about it like when you're watching the last episode, but so many people just died, like tons, because there's the 5 like confirmed, like 4 from the event and the Jessica from Damon, and then there's all the campers too, like a dozen people,
the
and park ranger, like all of these people.
Thousands of people died in like 24 hours. And Andy also just says like an assailant was responsible. We're just going on the news and being like, a random assailant killed like 12 people last night. We're good.
They're also, Andy's like sort of speculating if they're all related, because they just have no clue.
Got no clue. Scattered across town, like literally, like
a dozen bodies. Like
an assailant.
Not a serial killer. Not like I guess it's not out of the norm for Mystic Falls, but Also watching this news is so Damon's showering. He's watching the news, and then we sort of like cut to like another angle of the news, and it's John Gilbert in the Gilbert house watching the same program, and Carol comes on. She's talking about how they're having a memorial in the town, which I don't know, I just thought that was so funny. It's so Mystic Falls.
It's so Mystic Falls of like, we were ready on the spot to throw together a memorial for our like fallen people because we're so used to it at this point.
They get this memorial going literally day of, because we see it later. But John is down there, he's watching the news, and he's doing whatever he does, being John Gilbert. And Elena comes down in her ponytail, as you mentioned. She looks amazing. She looks so pretty. And Elena is just like, why are you here? Like, I don't want you here. Like, I just don't want to deal with you.
This is part of what makes the Elena ponytail in this episode so iconic, is the sass.
It's sassy. It's a sassy ponytail.
It's I'm so over this that I wasn't going to get my straightener out today, and I just put my hair up into a ponytail.
Exactly.
But she put on like huge lashes.
I noticed that. Okay, I did notice these lashes are outrageous. They're literally like her full eye length.
I love it. It's my favorite look of hers.
She's serving. But it's kind of a funny look. I don't know.
I feel like this is the picture I see almost all the time, like on TikTok or like Pinterest or something of her. It's like this look has specifically become very trendy in the last like few years, which is interesting.
I mean, it looks good. She looks beautiful, but
and so of course, like we said, she's serving sass. Because she's having the awkward John back and forth with John about like, no more avoiding me. Like, what are you doing here? And he says he's here to protect her. Like, he just wants to help her, but he can't tell her what he's doing or like why he's gonna help her because he doesn't trust her. Shady. He's protecting her.
Also, John, you're the least trustworthy, but whatever.
Whatever. He's on the trust train this episode, and it makes no sense.
It's so weird.
Then Jenna and Alaric come downstairs. They enter the kitchen and they're like chatting about like, oh, you hit the snooze too many times. It's very cute, very domestic. They're very coupley. But then of course they notice John, and Jenna's immediately like pissed and is like, what are you doing here? Like, we weren't expecting you ever. And Alaric immediately like just starts like exchanging looks with Elena, and he just kind of like slowly backs away and leaves.
I noticed that. I was like, Alaric is so uncomfortable that he just leaves.
He just gets out of there. He doesn't say a single thing. I love him for that.
Yeah, he's real for that.
Because Jenna keeps going after John in this conversation. Like, she's saying like, you're not allowed to stay here. Like, I'm the guardian. It's their house. Like, we don't give you permission to stay here, basically. But he's like, oh, well, actually about that, like, I have something to tell you. And he's like, Elena, do you want to tell her or should I? And Jenna's like, tell me what? Like, what is going on? And Elena's like, I'm so sorry. I meant to tell you. Like, I should have done it sooner. And John, of course, just drops the bomb that he is Elena's biological father. So he does have his rights to stay there, apparently.
Yeah. I have so many things to say about this. One, Elena was adopted by Miranda and Grayson. Mm-hmm. And then, presumably, they made Jenna, like, her guardian.
Yeah.
Upon their death. So, like, he doesn't have any rights. He's just saying this. Like, he could be anyone. Yeah, he just happens to be, like, her uncle. But, like...
Doesn't that tell you everything you need to know, though? That they knew that. It's not like Miranda and Grayson wouldn't have known that John was a
that's true.
father.
Yeah, exactly.
And they still gave Jenna the parental rights.
That should be, like, a big F you to John. But, he's clueless. He's not getting that.
Clueless.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we got to acknowledge Elena here. Yeah. Girl, your lies are coming to get you.
This is what I was about to say. I've harped on it enough. But this is one that I'm really like, I forgot Jenna didn't know this because it was a whole plot of season 1 that they were trying to figure out her parents. And, like, there's no reason to not tell her it's John.
That's not supernatural at all.
Yeah. Also, I mean, it's loosely related, but, like, you could definitely get away with telling her that.
Yeah.
And should.
And should tell her that.
Yeah.
It's like how in season 1 when all that stuff happened with Jeremy and she was like, I have to tell Jeremy, like, everything. I can't lie to him anymore. And they had the whole episode where she, like, caught him up and whatever. She should have done that with Jenna, like, multiple times over by now.
Yeah.
So, Elena, the lies are building up, and this is kind of the only one that, like, is exposed in this episode, but it's definitely going to become a thing in the next several with Jenna, where it's like...
Yeah, John is going to stir the pot.
Yeah,
we all know.
He's going to continue to stir the pot.
He's going to make things worse,
So that's what's going on at the Gilbert house. Yep. Not good things right now.
Yeah.
At the Salvatore house, also some beef happening as usual. But thankfully, someone is in their right mind over there because
finally,
Damon is calling out Stefan for being a big dummy and bringing John back into the situation. He says, "You brought back John Gilbert. That was your big save Elena move. Like, what's wrong with you?"
Like, Stefan, we were expecting so much more. You were gone while through Rose's whole death. Yeah. You left Elena alone to be almost killed, and this is what you come back with?
Yeah, that's the best idea you had was just Uncle John.
And I really like Damon's line here. Stefan is like, we were desperate. And Damon just goes, not that desperate.
Yeah. That's a really good way to sum it up is like, yeah, we're desperate, but not that far
anywhere
yet.
Near that desperate.
No, because literally last time they saw Uncle John, first of all, last time they saw Uncle John, Stefan was the one that was like threatening him and was like, if I ever see you again, I'll kill you.
Oh, yeah.
So like, I don't know.
Makes no sense.
It makes no sense that he was cool with bringing him in, but whatever.
Yeah.
So he says they're desperate, and Stefan is like, well, I couldn't get Isabel. Like, I went looking for her, but I got Uncle John, so like I figured he would be
next
good.
Best thing, I guess.
But then he's like, but he's not talking. He won't say anything to me. So hopefully he's telling Elena whatever he can help with because
nope.
And then Damon gives the snarky, great work, Stefan, top notch, as if I didn't have enough problems. Like, clearly, like, Stefan, you're just adding more problems to the pile.
Yeah.
So Damon goes to leave, but then Stefan stops him and apologizes to Damon about losing Rose.
Yeah.
At least he acknowledged it.
At least he did, yeah. He was kind of absent, like we've said.
Yeah, he was barely there.
Yeah.
But of course, like, Damon tries to like brush it off and is just like, oh, whatever, like I knew her for 5 minutes. And Stefan's like, oh, well, you cared about her after 5 minutes. Like, what does that say? And Damon's like, he's still in a snarky face. He's like, oh, well, it means I have the capacity to care, and like, you know, it means I'm becoming a better man, and I gotta get my own hero hair, and it just sasses him, and then just leaves. He's out of there. So the vibes there are the usual vibes. And then, of course, Stefan gets a text from Caroline, 911 now. All caps.
911. 911 wasn't good enough. 911 now.
All caps,
Yeah. So, obviously, Stefan and Caroline convene, and Caroline just tells Stefan everything that Tyler just told her and just relays, you know, that Tyler knows now. Like, Tyler knows not only that they killed Mason and that they're vampires, but also that she lied.
Yeah, and she's like, and I didn't tell him. Like, I didn't. And Stefan immediately is like, oh, well, Jules obviously had to have told him, like, she's the one messing with everything, and this is not good. Like, this is bad news.
Yeah, so they kind of try to figure out what to do, and for whatever reason, like, the conclusion is, like, Caroline thinks that Stefan should go try to reason with Tyler, which I can kind of see why Caroline thinks this is a good idea, but I don't know, I feel like Stefan comes in hot a lot of times, like, really unexpectedly.
Yeah,
like,
he does.
He will go 0 to 100, like, so fast, like, so often.
Yeah, and I feel like Caroline should know that she's got the best relationship with Tyler, and that, like, maybe Stefan should be there, but that Caroline should also be there to make Tyler comfortable.
I don't know why they wouldn't both go.
Wouldn't that be so much more standoffish to be like, let me just send Stefan, who just found out, like, probably killed your uncle and is a vampire who's been lying to you, like... I don't know. It's such a weird... I don't know what they were thinking. But they do have one thought process, right? Which is that Damon cannot know.
That's true. They do agree. Don't tell Damon.
Don't tell Damon, because if he knows, he will kill Tyler. Like, that will solve the problem.
That's true.
So they agree that they're not going to tell him. So Stefan is going to actually just go and talk to Tyler to try to, like, figure this out peacefully without Damon finding out and without anything happening with Jules or, like, the other werewolves. That's where they've landed, is the best plan to move forward.
But before they can get to Tyler... Jules shows up.
Yeah.
We see, Jules sort of knocks at the door. Tyler tells Carol, like, we don't see her, but he tells her, like, I'll get it.
Yeah.
He lets her in, and then she comes in, and she just starts spewing her nonsense. Like, her weirdly, like, hateful, a vampire will never be your friend, like, all of these things. Which Tyler does say at first. He's like, do you know, like, how ridiculous and outdated?
Yeah, you know how stupid that sounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Says, which I was like, snaps.
Yeah, it was like, thank God, his last moment of clarity, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah, before he really falls for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tyler, like, sasses her back a little bit, but Jules, like, starts trying to get him to, like, run away with her.
Leave town.
Yeah, leave town. She's like, this isn't the place for you anymore, like, all these different things. And all I could think was about how we've been talking about, like, what makes her so much more hateable than everyone else. And I think this is a big part of it for me. Like, she is telling Tyler to leave behind his friends and family as a 17-year-old going through, like, a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Where he needs his friends and family. Like, I don't know. It's just so manipulative and it's so bad. Like, I guess if we want to excuse the killing, like, whatever, everyone kills someone in the show, so that we can kind of excuse. But this is just so, like, I don't know, like, predatory, I guess.
That's so interesting. I actually thought this was kind of a scene that made me, not this one necessarily, but the idea of her trying to take Tyler makes me kind of like her, and that she just kind of wants to help him. But I agree that the approach here is so wrong.
The approach is bad.
Because she also, like we've said in past scenes, where, like, she doesn't acknowledge the fact that, like, Mason is his uncle who died with any, like, sensitivity.
She's just so
also,
whatever.
His dad just died, which we know she knows because she mentions it at the end of this episode. So, like, she's so insensitive to his whole situation, which... Maybe it's that, like, military type approach where it's like, you gotta get hardened, kid, like, that's the life.
I guess. I don't know.
But whether that's right or not is, like, that's so debatable. But I do think there's a line in here that makes me not like her, which is, she's saying, like, you need to leave town because you're not safe here. Like, you need to learn how to survive. And she says you need to learn what it means to be a lycanthrope. Oh! And then she goes on, we live by a code of loyalty. We take care of each other. It's my duty and honor to help you. Please let me.
Chill.
Literally, like...
Chill.
The dialogue could not be more, like, formal. Like, like, it's so uncomfortable and weird, and people don't talk like that. I don't know why they always write her dialogue like this. Yeah,
her dialogue is terrible. That, I think, again, I think it's because they don't want us to like her. They're making her, like, this weirdly cold person. But like, everything she's saying is so formal. And I agree, like, helping him could be good. Like, I don't hate her for that. Like, that I can get behind. But her approach is so bad.
It's like cult-like. Like,
yes, it's very culty.
It's very culty, where it's like, let me, like, separate you from everyone you know and love.
Exactly.
And, like, and then we live by a code of loyalty. It's like, girl, this is not how people talk, and especially not to 17-year-olds. Like, if I were Tyler, I would be like, what is going on? Yeah, I would be like,
she's creepy.
Also, just calling them lycanthrope, I'm like, I get it that that's a thing, but, like, come on.
I know. I rolled my eyes. I was like, okay.
Yeah, she doesn't get good dialogue, so...
Yeah.
I don't know. That's on the writers.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Whether intentional or not, terrible dialogue.
but good dialogue in the next scene.
Yeah.
Good segue.
Yeah.
Is back at the Gilbert house. Damon shows up, of course, looking for John.
Yeah.
That's his, his first problem on his list he's got to solve today.
Yep.
And Elena answers the door. She says she doesn't know where John is. He just blew in, announced to Jenna that he's my dad, and then took off. And I love this dialogue between them because Damon says, that's public knowledge now. And Elena says, apparently.
Yeah.
And then he kind of has this moment where he like really looks at her and he's like, are you okay? Because it's like this acknowledgement of like, almost like we were just saying with Jules, how like Jules is so insensitive and doesn't recognize that Tyler's going through the loss of his uncle, recently lost his father.
Yeah.
It's like this scene is such a good immediate contrast to be like, yeah, they're like talking about how John's annoying and whatever. But then he's like, whoa, wait, this is like your actual like biological father, like kind of blowing up your family.
Yes, stirring the pot. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not just vampire werewolf, let's find the moonstone beef. This is like your personal lives and feelings, and like it's important to recognize that. So I really like that little bounce back and forth between them. And she says she's okay, but that Jenna's like in shock. And I feel like it is this like step back we need to realize that John's not like, he's kind of a villain in a way, but he's not. It's like a weird thing because he's her biological dad, but like
they're definitely trying to build out like this. They're trying to give him a little more nuance. Yeah. For obvious reasons. We know where this season is going. Yes. Like, you need to feel something about that. But, yeah they are starting... Because there's another scene later where I'm like, oh, I actually do feel for John.
Yes. I went back and forth all episode. We'll keep talking about it as we have more scenes with him. But he is so interesting. Where Jules, I feel like, never has
She never gets any nuance. Yeah.
Yeah, like, John John. He's... arguably more hateable than Jules. But he also has moments where I really don't hate him and I feel for him, and Jules never has that.
No, I am like, I said this I think in another episode, like I never even emotional for her in the last episode. Like, no. I'm just like, okay. I mean, it's kind of outshined by everything else.
That's true.
That is like going on. So it's a little hard to say, but
But I don't know. We'll get there. But like, I'm still emotional about his ending, even with other things that could outshine it. So it's a very interesting situation. Anyway, all to say, Damon and Elena, they're talking. They both agree that they don't trust John, even though Stefan apparently does. And, Elena asks what they're going to do about it. And Damon's like, we'll kill him.
Classic.
And Elena's like, Damon. And he's like, I'm not serious. Well, like, sort of.
Yeah.
Like, I would if you would let me.
Yeah, basically.
It's basically the vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, just by all of this, he does say, like, I'm a good guy now, Elena. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And she's like, what does that mean? And, he says, I'm going to go talk to your father. Like, it's fine. Yeah. And he goes out the door, presumably to go look for John. And Elena's like, I'm coming with you.
Wait, let me come. Yeah.
She's got to babysit.
Yeah.
Obviously. So she follows Damon out the door. And we'll see where that takes them a little bit later. For now, we go to Jules and the werewolves. So Jules is just out in the woods looking around. Yep. She stumbles upon an RV, and she opens up the door and she's calling out for a Brady, who I'm gonna call Brody accidentally all episode. Just gonna say that now.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's such a similar name, and he gives vibes of either one, and I don't like him either. So
yeah, he's the worst.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve the respect. Sorry to that man, but the Arrow guy, but. Brody, who cares?
Yeah.
Anyway, he appears and he starts kissing Jules. So clearly they're like together. So again, I guess. What is her relationship to Mason? Unclear.
No one knows.
She couldn't have been with Mason because of Catherine.
Yeah.
But like, she was at his place. She came all the way here to find him. I was like, I don't know. It's so confusing.
I don't know. I guess we're supposed to just chalk it up to like this idea of like the code of loyalty of the lycanthrope or whatever.
I think that is, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought that too when they started kissing, because I had forgotten that they, I guess, are romantically like involved. But yeah, I was like, that's weird. Just seems like it doesn't fit. I thought they were kind of teeing up that there was something with her and Mason.
The whole dynamic of all of these people, the wolves, weird. Makes no sense.
Culty.
It's
giving polyamory, like cult weird thing. Yeah,
it definitely is. Because then, and I'll bring this up later, but like, who's the alpha? Who's in charge here? Unclear.
I don't think we ever get any answers, so I don't know if it's worth speculating about. But I was wondering, is she supposed to be the alpha? Like,
I thought she was, but then I think he kind of does give the vibe too, so I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's very weird. So anyway, they start talking after they kiss, and it's like they're talking about how Mason was there, he probably got himself killed, and that like Brady's all, I'm not afraid of vampires, and she's like, I know, baby, but I just want the boy. Like, I want the boy more than vengeance.
Yeah.
And that just rubs me the wrong way.
So like, weird. Yeah, she's always talking about him like he's a possession.
Yes, that's exactly what I wrote. Is like, what is Tyler, some little collectible? He's some novelty that you have to add to your like collection of gems. I want the boy. Like, what is that?
It's so weird. She's just, I think her dialogue is just terrible. Like, there's a way to phrase that's not so weird. Like, even just adding in, I want to help the boy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I want the boy. It's just weird. A weird way to put it. And then Brady, to end that, says, we can get both. And then again, they kiss dramatically while dramatic music is playing. And it's like, okay, so their goals here are to get vengeance and to get Tyler. Those are the boy.
Yeah, speaking of the boy. The boy is in his dad's like study. He's like doing whatever in there, and Stefan sort of like appears behind him out of nowhere, which also I noticed they did this with so many different characters in this episode. Like when John first appears, like he does a little thing, or Elena, or one of them does like a surprise like behind the door.
Which that one I like with the fridge because it's a callback to the Catherine season 1 finale. But this they did it with Brady too. He was kind of like just behind Jules. I don't know, and they do it again later. It's weird. Overkill. They do a lot of like he's secretly behind you shots. So anyway, they do that with Stefan, which Stefan's feels more intentional because Stefan just sort of like surprises him, and then of course Tyler tries to run because he's been primed by Jules just before this to be like afraid of vampires basically and think that they're at odds. So Tyler like tries to run, and then Stefan like cuts him off and stops him, and then Carol is like trying to talk to Tyler and be like, oh, I'm on my way out, like whatever. Tyler like tries to go and try to like say something to Carol, but Stefan pins him up against the wall and is like choking him out. Like, don't say anything.
Don't say anything. Like, what a good approach, Stefan. What a good way to make him think you're on his side.
I know. I thought the exact same thing. I was like, this is hilarious that Caroline was like, Stefan, you're so good with your words. Like, you're going to be so good at this. And Stefan appears out of nowhere, breaks into Tyler's house, chokes him against the wall, and is like, don't say a word. Like, that's so normal.
I do agree, like I said, with Caroline's thought. Like, Stefan usually is good at like talking to people about things. But this is not the first time. He has just like come in hot, like just so aggressive, like from the jump.
We talked about it a lot at the start of this season, actually. At the start of season 2, he's so aggressive. We were like, he is on edge, and he's kind of back to that. But he does come out of it really quick. He does snap out of it. Because he lets go of Tyler, and he's like, maybe we're getting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, he realizes.
Yeah, you think Stefan, after choking him out and being like, don't say a word to your mother, like, bad decision arc for real. So Tyler immediately asks like what happened to Mason, and Stefan says like, we have a lot to talk about. Like, he's obviously not going to answer that. And so then Tyler immediately tries to run again. And his only move. And so he's been a werewolf for like 2 seconds. So Stefan grabs him and says, I wouldn't do that. Without a full moon, you're no match for me. So Stefan's just doing great. Just throwing threatening things out there. Just being like, don't run. Don't speak.
It's really not working.
It's not working at all.
We'll see the aftermath of that. I do love the later scene with them. But so anyway, they're having that whole thing. Tyler's holed up in the Lockwood mansion. But Carol is doing her interim mayoral duties, which I think she's just full mayor now. She's just mayor. But the whole town is at this memorial that they've somehow slept together in a day.
12 hours.
In literally like 12 hours. So, everyone's in the town square, and then Carol and John are talking about the council, and she sort of like, little funny moment, she tells John like, Damon's in charge of that now, so go talk to him. And of course John is kind of like,
oh great,
he's like, these fools. And then that conversation kind of ends, and Jeremy shows up to talk to John. And
which big beef, because obviously the last time John was there, he killed his girlfriend. He killed Anna. So Jeremy is like, of anybody who's like pissed to see John, I think Jeremy has like the most reason to be pissed.
I think he does too.
Because Elena's pissed for Stefan and Damon, which he tried to kill, so like still justified. Jenna's just pissed because he sucks.
But Jeremy,
he actually murdered his girlfriend. Like,
who did try to help the town. Not that John would know this, I don't think, but Anna did try to do the right thing in the end, and I don't even think she ever was doing like the bad thing.
No.
So yeah, she died so unjustifiably. Like,
yeah, she did. So Jeremy's like
Jeremy's
real
rightfully
big beef in this situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, the cold reception for John continues.
This is where I'm like kind of for John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like kind of, you know, trying to be friendly with Jeremy, who's just like, no, like don't come back in here with your anti-vampire stuff. It's not going to work this time. And like, you know, he says something about him wanting to like take his ring, and he like tries to pull off the Gilbert ring to give to him. Like, you're going to take this from me. Like, if this is what you're here for, just take it and leave. And John's like, what kind of man would I be if I took that from you? Like, why would I do that? Which is where I am a little like, you know, I do feel bad for John in a little bit. That like everyone hates him, but it's also like, John, you have caused all of this, so like
you have done nothing to help yourself. Yeah,
you're just making it worse at every turn.
For sure.
But yeah, so Jeremy leaves John, and then he sees Bonnie, so they're smiling.
Well, John offers, he's like, do you want to go grab lunch? And Jeremy is like, I think I'll pass.
Yeah, that was the saddest bit.
That's where I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of sad. Yeah, you won't even
sit through lunch with him. But also, like, I don't blame him.
I don't blame him at all. He's justified. But
it does suck, because Jeremy was his, like, buddy last time. Like,
they were kind of pals.
Mystic,
he was, like, the only one who tolerated him.
Yeah, and now
so that's got to hurt for John.
But also, like, you killed his girlfriend, so...
He deserves it. But, yeah.
But anyway, so new girlfriend.
But now, new girlfriend. So Jeremy's recovered.
Yeah, Jeremy spots Bonnie, and they're smiling at each other, and it kind of seems like they're gonna like walk towards each other. But then Dr. Martin goes up to Bonnie first, and you know they're going back and forth. Like, she's saying like, oh well, Elena told me that you're working with Elijah and that the Moonstone wasn't even destroyed. So like, obviously I can't trust you, and I can't trust the deal.
Yeah.
And you know he's all like, oh well, Bonnie, like, we're protecting you too, and Bonnie's like, don't give me the witch loyalty crap. Like, obviously, like, I don't trust you at all or believe any of this. And so this conversation's not really going anywhere. They're just having this kind of odds of, like...
There's tension.
Yeah, the tension. So Jeremy comes up to save Bonnie.
Yeah.
Asking if there's a problem. And she says no. And he puts his arm around her. And, you know, they walk away together. Big step for them. And she, like, really cuddles into him when he does that,
it's
too.
cute.
So it's like...
It's cute.
They're making some moves together.
But. Yeah, nothing official yet, but
they're
getting there. Our other little favorite couple, inside the grill, Jenna and Alaric are talking. Jenna is like basically relaying it. She's like giving it like it's like a reality show plot. She's like, my niece's like biological father is actually like my brother-in-law. She's giving like the whole she's giving like the actual real thing, like the way they're all related. And Jenna's like, you can't make any of this up. Like, she's just relaying all of this to Alaric, which I was confused about this, because doesn't she know like that Alaric, like, shouldn't Alaric already know, and shouldn't she realize that? I guess she's just talking about it.
She doesn't. I think she doesn't think Alaric knows about John being the biological. I'm sure Alaric probably did know that.
He definitely knew. Like, John or Alaric definitely knew about John.
Not Alaric sitting there pretending that he didn't know all of this.
Kind of the
definitely
worst.
Does.
Kind of bad boyfriend of this season.
It's hard because it's like bad boyfriend, but also like it is Elena's choice to tell her family.
Yeah, I guess that one is
like a weird overstep where it's like. Yeah. I shouldn't be the one that tells her this stuff, but like somebody should.
Yeah, I personally think he should be advocating that they tell her.
Yeah, he should.
Way more than he does, or that we see at least. But
agreed.
But yeah.
The number one advocate that Jenna should know everything, John. Yeah. He arrives at the grill and he comes right up to Alaric and Jenna and asks if he can join them, which obviously Jenna's like, do you have to? Like, obviously she doesn't want him to. He just dropped a bomb, like very insensitively this morning, in that, you know, he's Elena's biological father. And so they're chatting for a second, and then Damon and Elena walk in together, and it's just so like chef's kiss this moment for me. Like Damon and Elena standing at the doorway talking. Like, my biases are really gonna come out this episode.
I know.
And how much I love them. Because Elena's saying to Damon, like, we need answers, don't do anything stupid.
Yep.
And Damon says, but stupid is just so much more fun. And I love it. And she's like so serious. She's like, be the better man. And he's like, okay then. Which I thought was so funny. Like, the repertoire between them is so good.
It's really good. No, I was thinking this whole episode, I was like, I must be like starved for these Delena scenes, because all these early Delena scenes are hitting for me. Like,
oh my god, they're so good.
Everything in this episode, I was like, yes, I am here for it.
This is why I said at the top of the episode, like, I really do think this is an underrated Delana episode.
It is.
There's so many moments for them throughout this episode. And I think it's, like, kind of like we talked about of, like, the, like, domestic, like, coupley things.
Yeah.
They do really well in this episode where, like, they're just showing up at the grill together and, like, you know, powwow in the bathroom and, like, whatever. Like, it's just very, I don't know. They're so comfortable together. They're so friendly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Damon goes right up to John. Just like, hi, John. And again, I'm like, what must Jenna think about Damon and Elena? Because, like, I don't think they ever addressed that she saw him kissing Catherine thinking it was Elena. So she must
they never talked about it. Yeah.
Jenna's like, Elena's just playing the field. She's just showing up with Damon one day and Stefan the next. Who knows?
Yeah, she has no clue why Damon and Elena would even be together. I'm realizing this as you say that. Like, other than that he's Stefan's brother, she has no clue why they would.
That's so weird.
It's so weird. It would be so weird. Who she caught you kissing.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. It's so weird.
It's less weird in the real context of, like, he's trying to help save her life. Like, she's
yeah. If you know,
that they've
it's
become
whatever.
Friends. But yeah, Jenna doesn't know any of that. She's just like, Elena's really hanging out with her boyfriend's brother. Like, that's kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they're all poised in the grill together now to chat away.
Yeah.
At the Lockwood house, Stefan is still going after Tyler, and he's like, this scene kills me. He's like, look, about Caroline, no matter what her flaws are, when push comes to shove, you want that girl on your side. I was like, why are we always on about Caroline's flaws? Why does this have to be brought up every episode?
No, I literally thought that. I was like, can we get over this? Everyone is always like, Caroline is very flawed, but she's a good person. Why are we always doing this?
The time. I don't know.
Every time.
It was more justified in season 1 when she was, like, openly, like, being the worst.
She was being kind of, like, bad in the first season.
Like, being really insensitive to, like, Elena losing her parents.
Very
and,
petty.
Like, always being, and judgy of, like, Bonnie. And, like, that stuff was justified to be, like, okay, like, Caroline has some days, but we love her.
Yeah.
But, like, this, I'm like, Caroline has been great for months. What are we talking about?
It's fine.
So, don't know why we have to preface this with being like, look, I know Caroline is the worst, but but we all like her, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, they're sitting there, and Tyler's like, you want to be my friend? Fine, we're friends. Like, we're friends. Stop.
Yeah.
And then his phone buzzes, and they just stare at each other, like, for an awkward moment. They just kind of look at each other, and Tyler turns really quick and pulls out the phone and goes, help. I laughed so hard. I watched this like 3 times. I was crying.
I had to pause. I was laughing so hard.
I had to pause too, and I rewound and just laughed more. It's so unintentionally hilarious.
It's really not meant to be, but Tyler, like, he doesn't even check the caller ID, nothing.
Yeah, no.
He immediately is like, help.
Also, the way he stares at Stefan, like, they both just look at each other, and he whips and does it, and it's like, Tyler, it's not that
so
serious.
good.
Like,
No,
if
it's so
Stefan
good.
cared about your phone, he would have, like, done something immediately.
Also,
like,
help.
Yeah, what
They're
is that
just
gonna
talking.
do?
Stefan could have killed him like 6 times over. It's so ridiculous.
That's what I thought. I was like, not Tyler calling somebody and being like, help me, Stefan's trying to talk to me. Like, come on.
Yeah, what? It's so weird.
But obviously, the person who did call him was Jules.
Unfortunately.
And so she says to Brody, we have a problem.
Yeah.
So, not good. Tyler's just unleashed a big problem that he has no
he's
awareness.
An idiot.
He's so clueless.
He's so dumb.
No clue what he just did.
Yeah. He really has no clue. But yeah, back at the grill, of course, Damon and John are talking. Somehow they're doing a little aside. Yeah, somehow the two of them have just kind of wandered off to chit chat, and Damon is sort of trying to ask him what's going on, why is he back, all of the questions that he's already been asking that everyone wants to know. And John basically says, how can I trust you given that we know an original can compel vampires? Which, John, don't front. We know that you just don't trust him, and that you're a little snake and you have these secrets just because.
Yeah.
But he sort of tries to blame it on, like, the originals compelling, and Damon is like, well, that would be a concern, but Stefan and I are sipping vervain all day, every day.
Yeah.
And John is kind of, like, surprised. He's like, whoa, you guys are drinking vervain?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just very surprised. And then, you know, Damon sort of notes, like, you know, you're not wearing your ring, John. I could kill you in your sleep. Yeah, it's very tense. And yeah, John is like, you know, I need to know I can trust you.
Yeah.
And like, you need to trust me. He's basically saying like the trust goes both ways. And
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a weird conversation. Very tense.
It's such a weird conversation. And again, it's like what he said to Elena earlier of like, I need to trust you. And I kind of get it with the compelling vampires thing, but it's also like, I don't know, John. I feel like you've got ulterior motives and thoughts here. So let's
it's just
be
very
real.
clear he does. Yeah.
It's so clear he does.
Yeah. He's like, I mean, he hasn't given them any. I don't even know why Stefan brought him back. He gave them nothing about how he's going to help them. Nothing.
I think Stefan just really is like falling for the paternity, like he will want to help his daughter thing. Yeah. Which I guess is like true in the end, but also like the devastation he will wake in his, like, he doesn't care about anyone else.
Yeah, no, he cares about no one. Yeah, he literally tried to kill them.
Yes, exactly, and would again given the chance. So
for sure,
I guess Stefan was willing to take that gamble, but whatever.
Yeah.
Then outside the grill, we have Matt running up to Caroline.
Yeah.
And they talk. It's kind of, again, awkward where, like, they kind of agree that she's, like, avoiding him, like, not, like, on purpose, but, like, they haven't talked since they kissed. So it's been, she literally ran away the last time at the school, like, when he kissed. So they're kind of avoiding. And so they plan that after he's done with his shift at the grill, that they'll meet up, you know, right when it closes so that they can talk, because they clearly really need to talk. And so clearly, like, Caroline, you know, like she said to Tyler, like, Matt's still kind of in the picture, like she wants to pursue this.
I love him, but
so she looks kind of happy and whatever, and she's walking to her car, and she's about to get her in her car when Jules approaches her saying that she's looking for Tyler. And does Caroline know where he is? And she says she doesn't, she hasn't seen him, but Jules, like, calls her a liar.
Which, is that even a lie? She
hasn't seen him. I mean, she knows where he is.
But her answer isn't a lie. Like, she just says, I haven't seen him since the morning. I don't know. She's just so full of it. I'm like, shut up.
It's so stupid. Yeah, because then they have a whole thing where she's like, oh, like, I know you're lying. Well, is that a werewolf thing? Yeah, it is, actually. And it's like, okay, it's not, because she's not technically lying, but whatever.
Exactly. It's just so weird. And then, of course, Jules is like, yeah, that's my little werewolf thing. And Caroline is, like, kind of facing her car, like she's gonna get in it. She's like, oh, well, I have a vampire thing. And then she turns back and does the eyes. But then Jules, like, maces her with, like, vervain water
spray
or
of some sort.
Yeah, so Caroline, like, turns back toward the car, and she's, like, obviously, you know, in pain. She just got sprayed with vervain. And then she turns back, and she's, like, you know, ready to kill. And then Brady just shoots her in the head.
Yeah, in the, like, she's literally right outside the grill.
Like, right outside the grill. I never thought about that. Yeah, right outside the grill, like, point blank
in, like, the forehead.
In the head. And also, I don't think we've seen a vampire get shot in the head before at this point.
I don't think so, because we haven't had a lot of wooden bullet situations, really, not successfully.
Yeah.
And so, it's crazy, because it takes her down, obviously. She drops to the ground, and it cuts away from there. But, it's just insane. Also, like, full gunshot noises in the town square. Like, that doesn't rouse, like, any suspicions.
At a memorial, basically.
Yeah, I forgot it was also a memorial. Yeah. People are probably running, like, this town, we gotta leave.
They're packing their bags tonight.
They should. They don't for another few seasons, but... Anyway, so Caroline's been fully kidnapped now, and clearly her torture will be much worse than Tyler's just being talked to by Stefan.
Jules, such an overreaction. Especially because, we then see Caroline wakes up in, like...
in a cage.
Yeah, she's literally in a cage. She's, you know, she has to, like, pull the bullet out of her head because it's still in there. I don't even know how she came back. Like, how she, like, woke up.
Yeah, without somebody else, like,
still
pulling
in
out.
Her head. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess your body, like, heals around it. But, it's gruesome. And she's, like, crying. And like,
she's very clearly in pain.
Yeah, she tries to stretch for the lock on the cage, but she just, like, can't reach it. And then there's, like, a jump scare where Brady is, like, sitting there watching her. And, you know, he's like, that was gross. And he's like, he tells her, like, I have lots of wooden bullets and other toys. It's going to be a long night. And then he just shoots her again. Like... why do they have this cage built into their RV? Like, this is so sketchy.
It's so weird. Yeah, they just give such bad vibes at every turn.
Like, it seems like this is their profession. Just, like, capturing vampires and, like, torturing them. They very
honestly
weird.
might. Yeah, the fact that they have this cage, like, in their RV like this. It's so weird.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's for them to turn. Like, it must
no, that
be,
seems
like,
too risky.
Yeah, too small. And, like, I'm like, also, this has to be
their
for
whole
vampires.
Thing is, like, they have the woods
out,
like, wherever,
so
they roam free.
Yeah. So it's definitely
so
just there for vampires, which is, like, what the heck? It's fair to have some wooden bullets on hand because, like, realistically, like, you have to have some way to protect yourself. But also, like, having toys, having all these, like, weapons and things in cages, and, like, the ways they go about this stuff, like, they're so clearly prepared and, like, not new to this at all.
Yeah, they pull off this kidnap plot in, like,
0.2 seconds.
No time.
So clearly this is, like, something they're very familiar with, which is, again, it's, like, bad vibes. Like, this is just what they do in their free time. And so, so he's torturing her. He shoots her. That ends that scene.
Yep.
Back to the person who thinks they're really being tortured. Stefan is still forcing Tyler to talk to him.
Yeah.
And just, again, trying to be like, we're friends. Like, we both just want to live our lives here.
Yeah.
You know, again, Tyler just thinks he's in the worst situation right now because he's being forced to talk to Stefan. When Stefan gets a call from Caroline and he answers, and it's, of course, Jules, who says she wants Tyler. And she provides proof that she has Caroline, and she has Brady, like, shoot her in the arm.
Yeah,
so, like,
she'll
hear her scream on the phone.
Yeah.
And Jules says that Stefan has 20 minutes to bring Tyler to the, like, Wickery Bridge clearing, or Caroline is dead. So, Tyler, grow up.
Yeah, Tyler, it could be so much worse. You could literally be being held hostage and getting shot repeatedly.
Yeah. Reality check for real.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
So before we get into the trade there, we'll go back to the grill.
Yep.
Damon is at the bar when Jenna comes up to introduce him to her friend Andy Starr.
Yeah.
Our fave. And he says he recognizes her from the news.
Yep.
And she says she wants to buy him a drink, but he says his glass is full. He snubs her. He walks over to Elena, who's standing there, like, watching. Again, like, the Delana moments, even this, I'm like, she was watching.
I know. I thought the same thing.
And it's very telling, too, like, the fact that this woman, like, hits on him and he walks over to Elena. Like, he had no reason to go over to Elena.
Yeah.
But he goes over to Elena, and Elena says, like, you blew her off.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm steering clear of women at the moment in the interest of all women everywhere.
Yeah.
And they exchange some very, like, pointed looks. And I don't know necessarily if he said that or if her looks are because, like, he's so clearly in love with Elena.
Yeah.
Or if it's because, like, the whole, like, I'm a danger to women everywhere because I will kill them kind of thing.
Yeah.
Feels like a mixture of all of that.
I think it's a little bit of a mix. Yeah.
And so anyway, so then Stefan calls Elena. She gets a call. And we cut to Elena and Damon in the bathroom at the grill, like, debriefing.
Yeah.
Like a little regroup, because clearly she had to fill him in on everything because they intentionally left Damon out of the loop. Because he says, he's like, why am I just now hearing about this? And it's like, well, Stefan thought that, and he's like, that I would kill Tyler. And they're like, well, yeah.
Yeah. And then
obviously.
He basically implies he will. And then Elena is like, please don't kill him, please. Mm-hmm. And Damon basically says, you need to stop doing that. And Elena's like, stop doing what?
And she has her arm, like, on his arm. And when she says stop doing what, she, like, looks at her arm and then slowly removes it. It's such, like, the eye contact, the body language is going wild in this scene.
It's a very charged whole episode, honestly.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and she says, stop doing what? And Damon says, assuming that I will do the right thing because you ask. Like, because it's you who asks.
Yeah. To which she says, be the better man, Damon. Going wild. This scene is, like... It's wild for Delana fans.
It is.
Before anything can even, like, progress past that, Uncle John comes in, ruining the moment.
The vibes went from immaculate to just
garbage,
the worst.
Which they both immediately are like, ugh.
This guy.
It's like they knew, like, oh, the tension bubble has just popped because he ruined it.
Yep.
But it's kind of interesting because Damon's, like, really staring at Elena while he's still, like, talking to John, which I kind of love, where it's like he can't even, like, take his eyes off of her because John's like, what's going on? Like, clearly something's going on. They're like, no, it's not. Like, you don't need to be involved. And Elena tries to say she's going to go, but then Damon's like, nope, you're staying here. I'm going. And he, like, goes out the door past John and says to John, like, first dad duty, keep her here.
Yeah.
Which immediately he's like, oh, yep, obviously, we'll keep her here.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not going to let her charge into danger. So Elena tries to leave, but John stops her. And then in a later scene, we again see, like, she's trying to leave, but John, like, forces her to stay in the grill. And he says that like his job is to keep her safe, and like what the heck is going on like with this deal she made with Elijah, like she's not being like smart or keeping herself safe. And he admits that he has made some mistakes in the past, but they're still family. Elena does not like that
bad word. He should not have said that.
Yeah, and that's what she says, is like that you don't get the right to that. Like, that you're not.
She's right. Obviously, John, not the right person to be using family. Like, he never acts like it. He comes in to just be bossing everyone around, and then he does stuff like tell Jenna like about his paternity in the way that he did, which one, he didn't even need to tell her, and two, definitely didn't need to do it in that way.
No.
Yeah, so Elena is obviously like, you may be my father, but I will never be your daughter. That ponytail is working.
The sass.
Yeah, she's so sassy. She tells him off and then breezes right by him.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm done with you.
Yeah, which presumably she never shows up at the werewolf meetup, so I guess she does choose to still stay in the grill.
Probably, yeah.
But clearly they're not gonna interact again.
Yeah, she's not gonna stay in the bathroom with him. Yeah,
no.
She just is having none of this. She storms right by him. She's done. She and her ponytail are out.
Yeah, the sass power she needed in that ponytail was gifted to her. Someone else who needs the power of the ponytail right now.
She needed one today.
Poor Caroline. We cut back in and she's just getting more torture. He has like escalated to using like a water gun full of vervain
water, presumably. Yeah,
to just torture her. And he's asking her questions, spraying her with the vervain water. He starts like blowing little like wooden darts at her. That,
like slivers, basically.
Just like embed in the skin. And then he leaves the RV and he goes outside to talk to Jules. And Jules is saying, like, let's be smart about this. Like, I just want the boy. It's our duty to help him. It's who we are.
Shut up.
Okay,
I hate you, Jules. You're the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like they're trying to make Jules more likable again, like we've said, like through these kinds of things. Because that moment I'm like, okay, sure. Like, you're trying to help him. That's why you're doing all this, like, noble reason. I guess. But, like, it's just not working. And it isn't, working, especially in this moment, because then it's immediately, like, met by Brady, who, like, is just outrageously so much more hateful than even Jules is.
Yep.
And is, like, saying, like, he goes, they cross one of us, they cross us all. And, like, when he says it, it's so, like, comic-y in a weird way. I'm like, bro, like, it's just
odd.
It's just odd. Like, this isn't working. It's not, there's no way we're going to be on favor of these people. And it's such a weird thing because, again, it's like, it's just a choice at this point because the writers are very good at making us sympathetic to like, villains and to like these opposing factors. I mean, come on, we already love Elijah at this point. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Clearly they know how to write like good villains, but they just don't want us to like these people. They're just antagonists at this point. So, anyway, so Jules, we cut later. Jules is standing in the woods alone, and Stefan appears with Tyler like in tow, ready for the trade. And he says that if they release Caroline, he'll release Tyler. They're kind of going back and forth. They're not really getting anywhere because, like, Stefan the peacemaker, Jules the antagonist, they're not getting anywhere. Yeah. So, of course, who rolls up but Damon, obviously.
Unfortunately, things are obviously not going to go down peacefully anymore.
No.
Not that they ever were. Like, I don't think ever Jules was going to. Yeah.
But when Damon arrives, it's somebody like, well, we're not even going to try now.
Well, now it's kind of over. Yeah.
And I just need to point out the fact that, like, I love that Damon, like, turns up like this to help with Tyler, like, or to help with Caroline. Because I know, obviously, like, he has his own beef with Jules about Rose and everything. But, like, I don't know. I like to think that, like we've said, like, a few times, like, he really has built this friendship with Caroline and is kind of, like, showing up for her. Like, we already know he doesn't care if Tyler dies. He obviously cares about Stefan, so maybe he's showing up to help with Stefan. But I like to think that he's also showing up because he wants to get Caroline back.
I think so too. No, I think you're right. I think they've kind of, like, Caroline and Damon have gotten over their very very bad start at the beginning of the first season, and I feel like they have come around where they're friends. Like, we've seen a couple scenes with them where they like seem to be better. So I think he's there for both her and Stefan. And
she's one of his employees. He can't lose.
He delegates tasks to her, so he can't lose her.
He can't lose her. He needs somebody. But of course, Damon goes right in with the threatening, saying like, this isn't an even fight. It's not a full moon. We'll win. Just hand over Caroline so like you don't have to die.
Yep.
And Jules is like, I'm not so sure about that. And immediately like she whistles, which also I'm like, okay.
Shut up. Everything she does, I'm like, shut up.
And the rest of the pack comes out from their hiding places in the woods. They're all holding weapons, including like stakes, crossbows, a flamethrower. It's like, this is so extra.
Yeah. It's too much.
And Damon is like, go on, Tyler.
Yeah, go.
Just
go ahead.
Him forward.
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah. What are you waiting for? Come on.
So funny.
Yeah.
And so then the wolves, Brady specifically asks which one of them killed Mason, and Damon goes, "That'd be me."
Yeah,
obviously. At least
bold.
At least he takes the ownership. Like,
yeah, at least he owns it.
Yeah.
And Brady is of course like, make sure this one suffers extra boys, and then like basically and like six all of them on. Yeah. Onto not just Damon, but they
attack mode. Yeah.
Yeah, all of the werewolves go after Stefan and Damon. Before they attack though, Stefan and Damon have a little moment. Damon is like, I think we can take them, and Stefan's like, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, it's like 12 versus 2.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
But craziness breaks out, and they do pretty well at first.
They do,
It immediately shows, like, Damon ripping out a heart from, like, someone who tries to jump off, like, the roof.
It's pretty cool.
And Stefan, like, classic Stefan goes straight for the flamethrower. If there's a flamethrower present, Stefan gets his hands on it somehow. I don't know how this always comes up, but it does.
Yeah. Stefan, he, like, takes the person with the flamethrower and, like, uses him and is moving him around. It's pretty funny.
He gets 2 wolves with that, like, immediately.
Yeah.
Tyler is like, what the fuck? This is his first, like, anything like this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he just goes into the RV because, like, he's not dealt with anything like this at all.
He's overwhelmed.
And immediately, of course, he sees Caroline in the cage. And she's like, oh my god, like, Tyler, like, help me,
please.
Like, he's just kind of frozen, like, he is so shell-shocked, he doesn't know what to do, and he kind of hesitates for a moment, but he does of course run over eventually and lets her out, gets her out of the cage. He follows her outside. Then by the time we get outside, Damon's been shot, he's like on the ground. Classic. Stefan's been stabbed. Things have happened, so they're both just on the ground, like, knocked out. And then as soon as they come out of the RV, Jules, like, pins Caroline against the RV and has, like, a gun to her back. And, again, Tyler is just standing there, like, unmoving, just, like...
Yeah, doing nothing.
He looks so, like, shell-shocked, to be fair.
His
face is definitely just, like, what is going on?
Yeah. He's definitely overwhelmed.
He's definitely overwhelmed. And then Brady grabs a stake, and he's, like, about to kill Damon. Like, he starts to go for him. But suddenly, all of the werewolves, every single one except for Tyler, begin to, like, scream in pain. They cover their ears. They fall to their knees. They fall, like, all the way to the ground. And Dr. Martin arrives in the clearing, clearly casting a spell. And, he's knocked out all the werewolves, and he says that he's been upholding Elijah's bargain and that, like, they all need to leave. So Caroline, Stefan, and Damon just kind of...
Yeah, they kind of awkwardly are... Yeah, they look worse for wear. They kind of awkwardly are like, okay, I guess we go.
I feel like they'd all accepted death at that point.
They all had.
Shell shock.
Yeah.
So they just wander out, leaving Tyler just standing there with all the passed out wolves. And Dr. Martin says he's there to deliver a message that Tyler needs to tell his friends to leave. Yeah, it's such a, like, intense sequence. It is. I do feel bad for Tyler.
I do too. Yeah, obviously, it doesn't really come across this way to Caroline because all she really sees is him hesitating to let her free. And that's honestly mostly what we get just watching it. But if you think about it, this is definitely a very traumatic sequence of events to go down.
Oh, yeah.
He's definitely just, like, confused and overwhelmed. Like, and he does eventually let her out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's so hard to be like, he's only been a werewolf for, like, a month max. Not even
because he hasn't turned a second time.
He's only turned once. And I mean, Caroline's only been a vampire for a few months, but, like, come on, this is not her first showdown like this. She's been in several cop shootouts and, like, everything else. Like, she's
done stuff.
This is his first anything. As of 24 hours ago, he didn't even know, or maybe had just found out that there even were other vampires other than Caroline. So, like, I don't know. I think this is just such, like, an intense reality check. Like, this was the swiftest kick in, like, whoa, like, this, like, the stuff
the
Jules
stakes are
was
higher.
saying, like, the stuff that Jules was saying is kind of true, and, like, this is actually, like, people killing each other, not just, like, I don't know. So I do think it's like, also, did he even know witches existed before Dr. Martin rolled up? He probably didn't.
Probably not. He probably doesn't even know. Like, Dr. Martin just rolled in, didn't explain anything. He probably doesn't even know he was a witch.
Yeah, he's probably like, that guy was a werewolf?
Yeah,
like,
what?
Was a vampire? Like, can they do that? He doesn't have a single clue of what's going on.
Yeah, that's true. He's so clueless.
So, I do feel bad for Tyler. It's not a great look. He didn't, like, do the best that he could in that scene.
He definitely didn't, but...
Honestly, he did better than most of us probably would do.
That is definitely true, yeah.
We'll give him that at least.
Yeah.
But of course, the fallout of that is just not great. It's not good. For Caroline specifically, that was an awful thing to have to experience.
Yeah, that was really horrible. And I obviously do see her perspective of, he just didn't let me out. How could he not let me out immediately?
How could he not stand with me? Especially when you're starting to have feelings for him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this, like, I don't know, you want to trust him in that way and hold him in this special regard, and like, this is a moment that kind of unfortunately takes that away. Makes it hard to feel that way about him anymore.
Yeah, definitely. But
so Stefan brings Caroline home. And this is one of the episodes, I'm glad we had a good Stefan episode, because last episode was a bad Stefan episode. We talked at length about how we didn't like Stefan in episode 12. And I think in this one I like him for the most part. Like, he really doesn't do a lot bad. He doesn't get a lot. But like this scene especially is where you're like, I really do like Stefan.
Yeah,
like,
I do too. Yeah,
this is one where you're like, and honestly, this is one of the few scenes I would say where I'm like, I kind of get people who ship them. I don't really ship them. I ship them as friends more than anything. But this was the first one where I was like, it's so tender, it's so caring. Yeah, it's so like, he treats her so delicately and like, but with like respect in a way that I'm like, I really do see like the vibes there. Yeah. Because of course he takes Caroline home. He asks if anyone is home, like her mom or anything, and she says no. And he asks if he should stay with her so she doesn't have to be alone. And she's like, I'm not girly little Caroline anymore. I can handle myself. Yeah. And he says okay. And it's just so sad. Like, she's had to harden herself so much to like survive this life. Yeah.
And to your point about like, this is such a good scene for them. Stefan says to her, like, you don't have to pretend with me. Yeah. Like, anyone would be upset after what you went through. Yeah. I don't know. It's just so, like, caring and so considerate. It's like this scene and then the next one with him, next one with him and Caroline. It's so thoughtful. Yeah. I was also thinking about whether or not I ship them and, like, how I feel about them.
Yeah. Generally, I don't. But this is an episode where I'm like, I see it.
I know.
I'm like, where I see it.
This is a good episode for Steroline.
Yeah, it is. Terrible. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's always sounded like a cleaning product to me. Like, I don't like that.
Not good.
Yeah,
but yeah, I like this one for them. I think it works really well, and this is a really beautiful scene in that way to acknowledge that. Yeah. But yeah, she says she just wants to shower, so he leaves. Yeah. Then back at the Salvatore house, shockingly, Uncle John has come over to finish his conversation from earlier with Damon. And John says that he knows that Stefan and Damon will do anything to save Elena, so he's brought them a gift. Yep. And he, of course, reveals that he has brought a dagger, like the metal dagger with the white oak ash, and explains that is how you kill an original. Yep. You just dip the dagger into the ash, and you plunge it into their hearts, and then they're dead. Rewatchers, we know.
Yeah, rewatchers, we know. But also, I do think, like, Damon and Stefan and whoever he eventually tells, I feel like they should be skeptical of this, but
yeah, and Damon is, but like, I don't know, at the end of the day they're pretty desperate.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I think
like
that
Stefan said, they are desperate.
Yeah.
So he says, John says he knows all of this from Isabel, and that if she accomplishes what she's attempting, Klaus will never set foot in Mystic Falls. Which is so interesting. Yeah. I never remember this point in the season what happens next. I've watched it 1,000 times and I'm like, she doesn't accomplish what she's doing.
She definitely doesn't, because we all know where her story ends up. She's back for like an episode and then done. I literally wanted to ask you, like, off camera, what is she? Because I was like, I don't want to sound stupid.
No, I thought the
I literally don't remember what.
I have watched.
Do they say what she's attempting?
Sure it must come up at some point, but like I said, like, I have watched this like literally 30, 40, 50 times. I don't even know how many times I've watched the show at this point, and I never remember this plot. No. I'm like, what? And I guess
because it doesn't work. It doesn't.
That's what I was gonna say. It's because it doesn't end up becoming anything, so it's so unclear. But I never remember, and we'll talk about this later with Uncle John, but I never remember what he's doing. There's a whole lot of weird stuff going on. Yeah. That we'll come back around to at the end.
We'll get there.
But for now, Damon accepts the gift. So that will be a plot point in the next couple episodes of how does that work and what is that.
Yeah, he's willing to buy into it. But back at Caroline's house, she's kind of like, she's looking in the mirror. She's trying to pick out like those slivers that Brady had shot at her. She's like pulling them out, and they do heal, so it's not like, you know.
But she has to individually pull out like every little splinter and slowly heal. And like you can see every time she pulls it out and it heals, it's like painful.
Yeah.
So she's still going through it.
She's still going through it. She's still trying to recover, but she gets a call from Matt, who asks her, you know, where is she? Because in their earlier conversation in the parking lot, they had agreed to meet after he's like done with his shift at the grill. So of course Caroline didn't make that, and Caroline is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like something came up with Bonnie, and I had to talk to her. Like I had to help her. And Matt is like, oh, okay, so like you're with her right now. And we see like Matt is in the grill, and we see Bonnie and Jeremy like looking at each other and smiling. And Caroline on the phone says like, yes, that she's with Bonnie. So Matt unfortunately knows she's lying.
Which, like, last episode where we were talking about, I was like, he has no right to even be mad at her for lying because she's barely lied. I feel like they had that conversation prematurely because now
they did.
Now the scene has definitely happened where it's like, okay, yes, she's point blank been caught in a lie, a bad one.
Yeah, which is bad. I don't know why she wouldn't just like say she was with Stefan.
Or just say something came up with like my dad or my, like, you know, somebody who's just not
someone who's not gonna someone who it's never gonna become a thing that like
Bonnie was like a bad pick. Even Stefan or Elena I don't know, it was not a good pick, but of course Bonnie's just there with Jeremy hanging out.
They're just hanging out at the grill, of course.
Even as background actors, we're building up that storyline just a little bit. They're always hanging out now.
Yeah, that's a good little touch. But yeah, they agree. Like they'll see each other tomorrow. Caroline asks if they can talk tomorrow, and Matt says yes. So things are like kind of okay there. Caroline doesn't know that he knows, of course.
Yeah, but it's so sad. Like this is this was the scene that made me be like, this is why I don't like this episode. Like it isn't bad writing. It isn't an illogical like script or situation or plot. It's just like painful and like torturous in a way that isn't enjoyable. Like the last episode 12 is so painful, like Rose dying, but it's like this weird cathartic emotional I don't know, like there's as humans we enjoy that level of pain in a way. This is not that like enjoyment level of pain. It's just like sad. It's just like seeing Caroline have to go through that is like not a thing that I personally enjoy rewatching.
There's also a point to Rose and her whole arc. Like it's so important for Damon's personal growth.
That's true.
This isn't really advancing Caroline's like personal growth or anything.
It's just like hardening her, if anything. Yeah, I guess maybe Tyler, you could say it's like sort of, but if anything, it's just a reality check. I don't think it's really like emotionally growing him. It is like kind of the thing that gives him the kick in what will happen in like the next one, but I don't know. I just think like it's just not one I enjoy rewatching. It's not fun.
No, this is probably like the only real lull I can think of this season. Like if I had to pick an episode that I just don't like, it would probably be this one.
It's this one. The Delana is great, but the Caroline stuff, I just hate watching it.
Exactly.
Like, it makes me sad. I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see this happen to her. It's so messed up.
And unfortunately, I do think, like we've talked about, we were trying to pinpoint at the start of the season, like where people start to like Caroline. And obviously her becoming a vampire is like the start of that trajectory, and I think makes a lot of people like her. But I think this is the episode that like really cements it, of like, if you didn't already like Caroline Forbes, this episode really makes you like Caroline, because like it's just so humanizing for her, and it really it gives you that sort of opening in the, I don't know, like sympathy for her that like allows you to like her. If you had any of that like resentment towards her in the first season still lingering, this gets you past it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the reason for it. I don't know, but I don't like to rewatch it.
No, I definitely don't either. Yeah, poor Caroline.
Yeah, and then Tyler shows up next in this scene, and so he arrives to check in on her, ask if she's okay, and he says like he doesn't know who to trust. He doesn't know what's going on. And she says that she lied to protect him. That was why she didn't tell him about their other vampires. Like, it wasn't just about protecting Stefan and Damon. It was to protect him. And, like, Caroline is, like, getting progressively, like, more pissed as the scene is going on. You know, she starts saying, like, you just stood there. Like, you were just standing there when they were going to kill us. and that he should have helped them. Like, he's like, I didn't know what to do. And she's like, you help your friends. Like, you just stood there.
Come on. Yeah.
And it's like we said, it's like, he's so shell-shocked in that scene that I'm like, I personally don't hold it against him for not doing anything, but it's fair of her to be mad because she's the one that was in a cage and was getting tortured.
No, for sure. Yeah, I can see both sides, I guess. But yeah, I think she's very justified.
She's upset. Especially the fact that like she's not angry at him for the rest of their lives. Like,
yeah,
she needs a minute.
I need space. Yeah,
and course. She says like, you know, too little, too late. Like, we aren't friends anymore. What happened tonight will never happen to me again. And she slams the door on him. And I feel like that too kind of places where it's at is like that she's not even necessarily mad at Tyler. It's that she's mad that that happened to her. Like, the fact that she had to go through that was so messed up and wrong.
Yeah.
And just Tyler's like an appropriate target for right now. Even if it's not really his fault. But
yeah.
Ugh. Poor girl.
Yeah, poor Caroline. Back at the Gilbert house though, this is where the little like jump
the fridge
scare.
moment.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I was like, it can't be the earlier scene. Because Elena comes in on John.
Yeah.
But yeah, Elena is at the fridge in this like scene, and then she closes it and sees John. Little callback to season 1.
Yeah.
Nice little touch there. But they did the jump scare sort of thing like 8 times in this episode.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, they were really feeling it. But anyway, John tries to apologize to Elena for earlier, and she basically says like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want you here. Like, I want nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. And then John, of course, knows like he needs to give sort of like peace offering. So he gives her a bracelet and he tells her it belonged to her mother. Mm-hmm. And Elena asks, you know, Isabel? And John says, no, it belonged to Miranda. Like, I remembered her wearing it when she was younger.
Yeah.
That's
so tender.
Yeah, that I was like, okay, they got me.
Yeah, that really softens me to him.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's this acknowledgement that Elena really needed of like, you had parents that died very recently.
Yeah.
Like,
they
what,
are
7-8 months ago, maybe a year at this point, but like we're not even at the year mark really. Like, she's really recently lost her parents, and those are her real parents. And like, you know, I think that she needed that acknowledgement from somebody. Yeah. That I don't know, that's the reality of the situation. And like, Elena starts crying and John just kind of leaves her there, but I think that did a lot to patch up their relationship in a way. So too. It's not going to fix it, of course. I don't think they have really much fixing that they could ever do to it.
No, but it is that first step that I think needed to be taken, and to be taken by John.
Yeah, it's an important gesture for sure.
Yeah.
So Elena's left there crying, and then Stefan shows up, and he hugs Elena, and she just says, like, I don't believe him. I don't believe John. And she realizes, she's like, oh my gosh, like, how did it go tonight? Like, how's Caroline? And he says, I need your help. Obviously about Caroline. So
this scene, I don't know, there was something about this scene that I was like, I will protect Elena at all costs.
Yes.
Something about her having this like very emotional interaction with John, and objectively having like a terrible day. Like, I mean, obviously a lot of it was external, but her friend got kidnapped. Her shitty biological father rolled into town and started causing drama. Like, she's been having she knows she's gonna die in like not that long. Like, she's been having a rough go. And then her concern was, she asked Stefan, are you okay? And then she asked how everything went down with Caroline. It's like, she is so compassionate. And I really feel like, you know, a lot of characters, you can say like, oh, their thing is like they're nice or they're kind, but Elena is so compassionate and so selfless. And I felt like this was a really good scene for that. I don't know. Not like she didn't go through what Caroline went through, but she's still going through stuff. And she still was like, how's Caroline?
Which actually, a really good contrast with that is the next episode. And we can talk about it more in that one. But like, Tyler does some bad stuff to her in the next one, and she forgives him immediately.
Yeah.
Which, again, Tyler is way worse to Caroline in this one, but we'll talk about it in the next one. But it is, I think, a good point that, like, Elena's so concerned with her friends and the people around her, and it's such a core piece of her, even when she's, like, upset in her own right.
I know. I was like, the Elena haters, come at me. I will protect her.
I love her.
Yeah, I love her. So, anyway, enough about Elena and how I love her. But Stefan shows up at Caroline's house after telling Elena that he needs her help with something. Stefan shows up at Caroline's and again asks, you know, how are you? Like,
yeah, he says he's worried about her.
Yeah, he's worried.
And so he brought some backup.
Yeah.
Which is so cute.
It's really good.
Elena and Bonnie, of course, appear, and Elena says, we're going to slumber it, which is such a funny thing.
First of all, I burst out laughing.
Yeah.
I was like, good. I needed a little comedic relief.
Yeah. We're going to slumber it. Who says that?
Girl.
Then Bonnie appears and says, we haven't done it in ages.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't done it since the creepy seance scene, which didn't even turn into a sleepover because Bonnie got possessed and bounced. So,
forgot about that.
Who knows the last time they did a sleepover? But anyway, Caroline starts crying and the girls hug her, and it's so sweet. I love the image of the three of them like hugging, and Stefan is standing there kind of staring at them, and Elena looks at him. And they mouth, I love you. She says, I love you to him. And he mouths, I love you back. And then he just walks away, like leaving the girls together for girls' night. So sweet. It's
really sweet. As much as we've been saying we love all the Delena moments, I'm like, okay, this is a moment where I'm like, I could ship Stelena.
Yeah. I don't see this as a strong Stelena episode, but like I said, it's a strong Stefan episode.
Exactly.
I love Stefan in this episode.
It's so good for Stefan that you're like, I could see what Elena sees in him, I guess, is sort of the reasoning.
Which is funny because last episode we were like, we hate Stefan.
I hate it.
This is the worst Stefan episode.
Yeah. They really redeemed him. They brought him back.
He, 360 with that, or 360, 180 with that man.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, it works.
I love him now.
Yeah, I like Stefan a lot in this one.
Yeah.
And that obviously goes a long way. Him bringing the girls over.
Yeah, it does. So the girls are together and they're going to rally around their girl, and I love it.
I know. I'm here for it.
Attempting to rally, but not as well as the Wolves. Jules and Brady are hanging out in the RV when Tyler knocks on the door. Guess he left and came back after they woke up. I don't know what the scenario is here of why he left and came back. I don't know.
I guess he wanted to go check on Caroline maybe, but like,
must
I don't
be.
know. It was odd.
So anyway, so they let him in and they're kind of talking about how awful it is or whatever. And they tell him like, it's not always like this, man. It's just because you're like in vampire territory, which I was like, it is always like this.
It's always like this. Are you kidding?
Maybe the werewolves when they're by themselves are good, but for the vampires, it is always like this.
It is, yeah.
So they're saying like, we don't know why Mason was here, and Jules is like, oh well, you know why he was here. He lost his brother, which again, like I was saying, the recognition. Tyler just lost his dad too. Whatever. Yeah. And Tyler's like, oh well, he was looking for this moonstone. Yep. And so of course that's the reveal of like what he's been doing. And this is again where I found it odd of like, who's the alpha of this pack, because Brady like looks at Jules and she's like, I didn't know anything about it. Yeah. And then he looks at Tyler and is like, where's the moonstone? So I was like, who's the alpha? Who's in control?
I don't know.
Here? It makes no sense.
I don't know. I don't understand their whole dynamic.
It's very weird. But anyway, Tyler's like, I don't know where it ended up, like, because last Tyler knew, he just gave it to Mason. So you know, I'm sure they can infer from that the vampires took it from Mason when they killed him. Because Damon also said to, well, this is in the next one. I won't get into that. But anyway, I'm sure they can infer.
They definitely guessed the vampires have it.
So that is where we're at with the wolf pack. Now it's like, they're in the Moonstone game now, not just vengeance. They actually have a goal. So we'll see what happens in the next one because of that.
Yeah, great. Love that.
Wrapping up with Damon at the Salvatore house. Damon did end up calling Andy Star.
I love it.
So they're good. Taking a bubble bath together for their first date, which is hilarious.
Yeah, first date bubble bath, and Damon is like kissing her cheek/neck. Like,
they're drinking wine too and just like making out.
I'm like, it makes so much sense.
It makes so much sense.
It's so good.
Yeah, and they're like flirting, and Damon is being like super honest and candid. Maybe definitely gets too honest.
He definitely gets too honest, yeah.
He tells her that, like, he's in love with someone else.
Yeah.
And then he can't be with her. And, you know, she's like, oh, because he's in love with, she's in love with someone else. Or, like, she's with somebody. And he's like, well, yeah, but that's not the point. Like, that's not what's holding me back. It's like, I'm not, like, I can't be what she wants me to be. And I'm bad.
Yeah.
He's like, I kill people, which obviously freaks her out.
Yeah, she has a moment at first where she's like, is he kidding?
Yeah,
like, you can
see it on her face where it's like,
and then she realizes he's serious. Yeah.
And he leans forward and he compels her not to be afraid. And so she kind of settles and they keep talking. And at first I'm like, okay, that's fine, because I don't know. It's like fair to be like, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just compelling you so that we can talk and like still like. It's not like he's compelling her to have sex with him, which I feel like some people read this as of being like, It's like no, they're in a consenting relationship. He's just taking away the fear. The problem is with what happens a little bit later. But,
in the next episode, I think that line is blurred a little bit.
Yeah, even in this scene where then he so he admits that like he's keeping it together so that he can save Elena because, like, you know, he needs to keep it together in order to help her. But, like, by trying to keep it together and be what she wants him to be, he can't be himself. And I'm like, it's very weird. And Andy says, like, well, maybe this is who you are now. Like, love does that, Damon. It changes us. And it's such a great line. And Damon's just like, stop talking.
Yeah.
And then he starts kissing her. He says he wants a distraction and they start kissing, but then he starts feeding on her, which is where I'm like, okay, this is where the criticism of this relationship is fair. Is like, come on, they're hooking up for real. Like she's interested in him. Yeah. Compelling her to not be afraid or tell about the vampire thing is fine, but to be like feeding on her in the way he is, the blood is gushing. Yeah, it's going down her back. Yeah. The whole tub is red at this point, which how is that even being achieved? I don't know, but yeah. That's where I'm like, okay, maybe not the best look.
It's not great. It's not great, but I still ship them. I don't know.
I mean, like them together.
I give Damon so many like passes, I guess, that I'm like, this is another one, I guess. Like,
yeah. My thing is that she also just looks like she's in pain. I wish they had made her look like, I don't know, like something about it was sensual, like she was enjoying it. But like, I don't know, the pain thing, like that makes it a little weird that he's compelling her to be okay with it. But whatever. It's all gray with Damon anyway. That's just
everything with Damon is gray. But yeah.
Speaking of everything being gray and just not morally correct. Yeah. Catherine is still in the tomb.
Still in that dress.
It's been like what, 5 episodes now?
Yeah.
6 episodes. And she's sitting in the tomb hanging out like usual, and then Uncle John shows up to see her. And she's obviously surprised to see him. And she's like, I sent Stefan for Isabel. Which, again, shows manipulative Catherine always.
Yep, of course.
And he says that, you know, no one knows that he's there. This is just between them. Yep. And that Isabel was too busy, so she sent John. And Catherine says, I want out of this tomb, John. And he says, I'm already on it. What?
Interesting.
Suspicious.
Very suspicious.
Yeah, showing maybe Elena was right not to trust Uncle John. Yeah. And again, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter how many times I've watched this. I never remember why they're working with Catherine or what's going on there.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember why they're working with Catherine. I know, like, where this minor plot of getting her out of the tomb goes. Yeah. But I don't remember, like, the overall reason
to work with Catherine.
I don't know why, like, Catherine, John, Isabel are teamed up.
Yeah, I hope we get the reveal later and I'm just not remembering it. Otherwise, we're going to have a big debate about it.
I feel like that would be huge to not mention.
But probably, I know why.
Probably someone will comment it and I'll be like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
If I'm sure I'll be like, oh.
Yeah, if you remember, leave a comment because we're not going to remember for a few episodes.
Yeah. But yeah, so for this episode, only 4 deaths, I think. 4 that I saw. Confirmed. Yeah. Yeah, I saw Damon kill 1 werewolf and Stefan killed 3. He was...
I wasn't sure.
That blood diet is working for him.
Yeah, I knew Stefan got the 2. But yeah, they were just ripping hearts.
Yeah, but it was probably more than 4, but 4 confirmed.
4 confirmed. The rest will be in the next one.
Yeah, yep. Of course.
And then for our out of pocket would have done differently. What's something that we thought was out of pocket or would have changed? I have a big contender here.
Well, I wouldn't have done it differently because it was funny as fuck. But when Tyler immediately was like, oh.
That was mine too. Yeah, just because Stefan was talking to him. Screaming help in the phone. Yeah, that's definitely out of pocket, unnecessary.
Yeah, that goes in our out of pocket, not what I would have done differently.
Would have done the exact same. It was hilarious.
Yeah, okay, that can be our out of pocket moment.
Yeah, it's such a clear winner. I thought that we were both immediately like, yeah, Tyler, obviously.
Yeah, I think Tyler was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He actually does. Tyler and Matt.
Yeah, both of them. Teen boys, of course.
Of course. Always.
Yeah. As for quotes, none, like, only one really stuck out at me, and I'm gonna go with it, but it's more like a jokey one, so we can go with whatever you say, but we're gonna slumber it.
I wrote that down too.
Lives in my head rent free.
We're gonna slumber it is iconic. I need like an instance in which I have to say that. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah. There's something about it. Just sticks with me.
Who says that? Like,
It was so weird.
I would have said, like, we're going to have a sleepover.
Yeah.
We're staying the night. I don't know.
Anything else? Slumber? It was so weird.
I've never heard anyone say that.
It was just weird.
But yeah, I wrote that one down too. I also wrote what you already mentioned, the iconic Jenna moment of, so Elena is my sister's husband's brother's daughter, and her mother is my boyfriend's deceased wife. You can't make that stuff up.
Yeah, I like that.
And then I also wanted to call out a back and forth from Andy and Damon in the bathtub. Okay. When Andy says, "What do you want, Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome?" And he says, "I'm not that tall." So funny. I love that he's like basically acknowledging, like, I am dark and handsome, but yeah, not tall.
That tall.
Not
yeah,
that tall, pretty like average height.
Yeah. I like any of them, honestly.
I love all of them, but I think we gotta give it to Elena because we both wrote down.
Yeah, we're gonna slumber it.
It's so iconic.
Yeah.
I think about that all the time.
I do too. It's such a weird thing to say. I don't know if they were trying to make it a thing. Was there a brief moment in 2010 or 11?
I don't know.
When that was a thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, we're gonna slumber
I liked it though. Quote. Okay, that works.
Then best song of 213.
Yep.
So the best song for this episode, I have two songs. I don't feel that strongly about anything. It wasn't like a great song episode per se. But I have a honorable mention and a winner.
Okay. I only have one.
Okay.
So
I'll do my honorable mention then. It is Don't You Remember by Adele. This plays in the grill when Jenna and Alaric are talking. And I mostly nominated this because I was shocked that we were hearing Adele in this like early of a like show.
Yeah.
Because I looked it up too because I was like, wait, I need to confirm. Because this is off Adele's second album, 21. That album came out February 2011. February 3rd, 2011. Oh my God. This episode aired like 3 weeks later. Like, they literally turned that around immediately. I'm shocked at the speed in which they got that song in that.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Episode.
Wow.
Yeah, they literally, this episode aired February 3rd, 2011. The album came out January 24th, 2011. So that's even less time. That's like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's so fast. Wow.
I don't know how they did it that fast, but...
Maybe I don't know, they just never came up with a song and then the album dropped and they were like, it's perfect.
Which it was just in a background grill moment, so I'm sure like week of, you're basically like picking a...
you could probably fill it in, but like...
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
pretty
also
surprising.
Adele, like her first album was kind of big. This one was the one that made her like blow up.
Yeah.
But like presumably the person who's picking the songs probably had heard of her, knew of her, and knew she had an album coming out. I was like, we can probably fit one of them in there.
Yeah.
But just to get the rights and get everything in that fast is like really impressive.
That is pretty impressive, yeah.
So I just wanted to give that an honorable mention because it's like, wow, I love Adele and I love that they put in an Adele song 3 weeks after, or 2 weeks after it was released.
That's really fun. I like that. I almost like that just as a winner because of the like
fun facts.
Yeah, the fun fact.
Just Vampire Diaries is notoriously like on it with songs.
I know. I've always thought, you know, if we were going to have a little guest of someone involved, I mean, obviously there are a ton of obviously great people we would love to interview, but like a dark horse pick, I would love to interview like the music curator.
Oh, 1,000%.
Like every choice, and we're getting to like a couple really good ones soon.
Yeah.
Like every music choice in the show is so good.
So good. And like we talk about it all the time, how I love how they use specific like artists over and over again. A lot of times for specific characters, and like they have a really good balance of being like cool like indie songs that you wouldn't necessarily know while also having like really big popular songs of the era that like kind of cement like the year you're in.
Yeah.
So we got to find if anybody knows who wrote the or not wrote the music, but who
that too curated. I guess
that's Michael Suby. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Michael Suby, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I always say that in my head.
We'd
it's
also
like
love
Subi.
to talk to him too.
Sure.
But
yeah, anyone come on.
Anyone
Why not?
talk to us? Come on the show. Yeah. But for our winner, I'm assuming we both have the same one because it's the big emotional last song in the episode. This time it was Losing Your Memory by Ryan Starr, which is when the girls slumber it, and of course when Damon and Andy are in the bathtub. It's the classic, the big ending emotional song where the lyrics really like stick out and like feel like they fit the moment, and just scores the ending of the episode. Yeah, it's also really well done in this one because it plays through like the slumbering it moment, and then it stops when they get to the bathtub scene, and it starts up again when he's like starting to feed on her. I don't know, it's really well done. Yeah, they place the song like cues, kind of like the highs and the lows at really good parts. They always edit it very well. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think we can go with that one.
Yeah, I think it works.
Yeah.
So I will be adding Losing Your Memory by Ryan Starr to our Best Song of the Episode playlist, where we have all of the winners of Best Song. You can find that linked in our various bios and descriptions, as well as links to our TikTok and our Instagram, where we post lots of fun stories, reels, polls, all the things, clips from the podcast, and you can join the discussion there.
And you can listen to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or you can watch the video version on YouTube if you're not already doing that. So watch/listen at one of those places. And join us next week for season 2, episode 14, Crying Wolf. Unfortunately, we know what that one's going to be about.
Yeah, more werewolf drama.
Yeah,
more Tyler hurting his friends.
More Tyler being the worst.
But it's a good
episode,
Stelena episode specifically.
Yeah,
so excited to give them a good.
Yeah, Stelena shippers, join us.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, finally we'll give you something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching and or listening to this one. Hope we see you next week. Bye.